Hi everybody, Angel here, and I hope you're doing great. And I wanted to come on today and talk about the topic, how I lost 80 pounds in 14 steps. And so to begin with, I want to explain why I needed to lose so much weight. So in the early 2000s, I was told that I was obese, that I had a BMI, body mass index of over 30, like it was 30 point something. This was about 20 years ago. And I had high cholesterol, my clothes were tight, my clothes were not fitting. I just felt very uncomfortable in my body. And I was being told that I needed to take some prescribed substances to get my cholesterol under a certain level. And I decided I did not want to take these prescribed substances. And so I decided I was going to figure this out. And it was suggested to me, thanks for joining, it was suggested to me that I go and see a nutritionist. So I went to see a nutritionist. And I figured I wanted to do this the natural way and not with some type of, prescribed substances. And so I saw a nutritionist and, she guided me through the process. So step number one was that I had a nutritionist who shared her knowledge of, the macros and the micros with me. Number two was that I read information about nutrition, vitamins, minerals, etc. that my nutritionist was providing to me. That's a very important step that I want to distinguish because, yeah, sure, people can have a nutritionist, but are they really, learning along the way for themselves? So my step number two was to really take in the information and the importance of various nutrients, what we call vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, etc. And then the third step, which I think is super important also, is that I kept going to my nutritionist appointments to have accountability with someone else. And, that's very, very important to have that accountability, to have that relationship, to have that continuity, to have someone tracking my weight, tracking basically, how I was feeling, my emotions, etc. Like having someone real to talk to, that was very, very, very helpful for me as my step number three. Step number four, I was honest with myself that I was the one who was responsible for my weight, not the nutritionist, not the general practitioner, not the cardiologist, not the, nurse practitioner. No one else was responsible for my weight except me. And so once I figured that out, then I really, really took it upon myself to, go all the way, right? To really, really stick to whatever the plan was that I was setting up with my nutritionist. Thanks for joining. Also, then step number 5 was that I, in conjunction with my nutritionist, I somehow, although this was not really, I don't think this was the way she was going about it, what I decided to do was to, although she was very, very helpful with this, I decided to really set a daily calorie target. And that target was based on the weight that I was trying to achieve. And so she was very, very helpful with that. And so whatever my target weight was, we came up with a number of calories that, that particular weight would require to function very well based on activity level, et cetera, right? How much exercise, how sedentary the person is, etc. So that was super important, setting, the daily number of calories. And then step number 6 was that I tracked my calories. I used like an online tracker. Back then, of course, it was different. But nowadays, some of the popular ones are Chronometer, MyFitnessPal, and of course others where you can track your calories. And so number 7, what I did was I hand wrote a list. Part of it was on a spreadsheet. So I did like a spreadsheet version, and then I just kind of add foods to it if I didn't have a particular food already on my little spreadsheet. So I was I basically was counting my calories based on the common foods, the regular foods that I was eating. And so then I could like memorize or at least double check and see, well, what were the calories, let's say in an average, I don't know, apple, orange, banana, dates, nuts, yogurts, those types of foods that I was eating. So I posted my food and calorie counts on the refrigerator to check my consumption. Number 8 was I made most of my meals myself. So I was able to, control, you could say, basically the content of what I was eating. So I found that to be very, very helpful in losing all of that weight. And then number 9. I was creative in getting my palate used to fruits because I was not used to eating a lot of fruits way back when. This was 20 years ago. So I was not used to eating a lot of fruits. And so not a lot of whole fruits. And so the way I guess you could say, got myself used to it, maybe tricked my palate into getting used to, the flavor profile of fruits, was that I was drinking organic apple juice that you get out of the supermarket, like in those glass jars. And so I started to actually drink juices to get used to the natural flavors of fruits. And now, of course, a fruit juice is not the same as the whole fruit. We all got that. But back then, that was my way of introducing more fruits into my diet and getting my taste buds used to those flavors. And so I highly recommend that for people who are not used to eating a lot of fruits and vegetables to consume juices. Nowadays, of course, juices are very much more popular than they were back then. And so if you're able to even start off with drinking some cold pressed juices that you make at home, or if you have a really good source where you can get them from, then that's what I would recommend. If you're not used to eating fruits and vegetables like I was just eating so much processed food, which got me into the situation I was in, being obese and having high cholesterol. Let's see. So number 11 was that I stuck to a set style of eating, a high fiber diet that was based on plants, although I was not plant-based or vegan at the time. I didn't even know about plant-based or vegan at the time. I was vegetarian, pescatarian. And but I did, realize, at least this is how we say it in our culture. We say, oh, well, we're lactose intolerant if we have trouble digesting dairy, for example. Now, I've come to think that humans, it's not that we're lactose intolerant. I've come to understand that humans are just not designed to consume, basically other animals' milk. And so, because I was, basically going along with this idea that I'm lactose intolerant, I had like dairy that was based on plants. So I stuck to a set style of eating. I was eating, for example, plant-based yogurts. I was eating fruits and vegetables once I got used to, the whole flavor that I was explaining about the juices. So for breakfast, I would usually have like some kind of, plant yogurt and fruits and nuts. And then for lunch, I would have a one-pot meal basically of beans, rice, vegetables, herbs, and spices. And throughout the week, I would just rotate different vegetables, different herbs and spices, and different beans, because of course there are all kinds of different yummy beans out there. And so that's what I was doing. I was just rotating, the different combinations. You could have so many different combinations of beans and rice and vegetables and herbs and spices. Thanks for joining. And so that takes me, and then for dinner, I would repeat kind of what I was having for breakfast, and it was mainly fruits and nuts for dinner. And now number 12 was that at first I resisted exercising. I wasn't used to exercising. And so I did not start exercising right away. However, I was honest with myself that I didn't like exercising. I think that's important as well, to be honest with ourselves along our journey here. And then after a while, I guess after I started to lose some weight, I started to gain some confidence. I started to exercise twice a day, and I chose aerobics, which were a little bit more popular back then than they were now. They are now. And so I would have a set time in the morning before work, and I would practice aerobics and some light weightlifting. And then later on in the day, like at lunchtime and after work, either or both, I would take a walk. Take a walk outside, or if it was, let's say, after work, and let's say that it was already dark, I would go to an indoor mall, and I would walk around. And that way I was able to get my exercise in, as we say, our steps, right? So I was able to get in my exercise. Number 13, I limited processed desserts to once a month, and I set a date of the month so I would always know what that date was, right? And I would go and have a huge dessert at a local restaurant that I really liked. I really enjoyed going there. And so just as something special for myself once a month, so I wouldn't feel so deprived, I would have a humongous piece of cake or a humongous piece of cheesecake or something like that, right? And so that was what I would do, just as something special for myself, because I knew that, I was basically sticking to a really, really, set kind of a eating pattern while I was losing all of this weight. And then number 14, which I think is super important as well, is I had counseling to help me to, unleash some old patterns, some limiting beliefs, some stuck energy, some old issues that I had. Many of us have different challenges in life. And so I found that, seeing a counselor was super duper important. And I know that there's a lot of stigma around that. And so, everyone just takes that as they wish to take it. And so, I totally understand there's tons and tons of stigma. And so it took me, I think, about 18 months to lose over 80 pounds. And counseling is always a great idea on any journey. I agree. I agree with you. Thank you for that comment. Yeah. And so, once I lost over 80 pounds, the professionals who were tracking my weight and my cholesterol, these numbers that we get tracked, right? They were really, really amazed, and they were asking me questions. How did I do this? And, I could see them taking notes, and they were just very, very amazed, that I was able to drop this weight without taking some prescribed substances and any other kind of, procedures that people, undergo. And so I also had friends and family who were very, very surprised. And, that was a challenge as well, because sometimes they were, shall we say, not so shy in expressing that they felt that I'd lost too much weight. And so what this taught me was that even though these people were overweight and obese themselves, and when I was obese, they didn't even say to me, Angel, you need to lose weight. What I learned is, number one, not to pay any attention to people who are telling you that, now you're too slim, because of course, how do they know? I mean, I'm tracking my weight. I'm within the normal range. Sure, they're not used to seeing me like that, and I totally understand. But I learned just really not to pay attention to people who have their own issues going on and who are not, at the ideal, shall we say, level that you are, aspiring to be. And I also learned that society has normalized being overweight and obese. And, it seems that there's a bit of a taboo even, when someone may even mention if a person is overweight or obese. So we stay away from commenting on people who are overweight and obese. And then we, point the finger and wag the finger at people who are in the normal range. And so, anyway, I learned that along my journey and along my experience there of losing over 80 pounds about 20 years ago. And so, I just wanted to come on and share that story because I think it's super important for some people to kind of get different ways that people go about this situation, reaching a normal weight. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And thanks for joining either live or on the replay. And if you need any help on your weight loss journey, on your wellness journey, by all means, just message me, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you on your journey. And yeah, we'll get started. And so with that, I'm just going to wrap this up and put a bow on it. And thank you so much for joining. And I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. So take good care, everybody. Bye-bye.